and it's 3 o'clock, and I'm continuing my series on how to resist snacks. So, most of us are housebound at the moment, and that can lead to us reaching for the fridge throughout the day. So, I'm sharing with you my top 6 tips for resisting snacks, and effectively it's all about balancing blood sugar levels. So today's rule number 4 is all about cutting down on caffeine, and I'm going to explain why that will help you resist snacks. So whenever we consume caffeine, and caffeine's found in a number of things, not just coffee, so you'd find it in tea, green tea, chocolate, and of course things like Coca-Cola. And what happens when you consume caffeine is that the body experiences a stress reaction. So part of the stress response is to produce hormones which help you deal with whatever the aggressor is that's causing the stress. So those hormones are very clever, and they provide the body with everything it needs to run away from this attacker, if only there was one. Most of the time these days when we experience stress, we're usually quite sedentary. So we could be behind the wheel of a car, we could be on our computers having to deal with, I don't know, some IT hitch or just demands from people. So one of the roles of, or one of the functions of the stress hormones is to find energy to enable your muscles to work effectively to run away from this attacker. So we consume coffee, and caffeine causes that response in our body as well. So it causes the stress response, which tells the body to release adrenaline and cortisol. And cortisol will find stores of sugar in the body and dump them in the bloodstream. So you've got, just by consuming coffee, you've got an influx of sugar into the bloodstream to give you the energy to run away. But it's unlikely that you're going to use up that energy these days when we're stressed, because it's usually not a physical threat. So what then happens is your blood is flooded with sugar, and that will create a blood sugar high, which is then followed by a crash. And it's when we crash that we crave the next snack. And because our brains only function on glucose, the brain is saying to you, find a very quick source of glucose, which is usually something refined, like a biscuit or a piece of cake or some chocolate. And then that will give the brain a quick burst of sugar again, and it can carry on functioning as it wants to. So that's the kind of explanation of why caffeine causes a blood sugar low. It causes a spike in blood sugar followed by a crash, and then you're craving again. And you may respond to that either by having some refined carbohydrate or another cup of coffee, which is going to cause the same spike and crash. So as we've learned, we want our blood sugars to be steady and stable throughout the day, so that there's never any peaks and troughs, and it's peaks and troughs that cause cravings. So hopefully that's clear. What can we do to avoid this? So obviously it's not a great idea to be punctuating your day with doses of caffeine. So I would suggest that you keep a log of how many teas or coffees you have in a day, or energy drinks or Coca-Colas. Keep a log of those, work out when you're having them, and then identify the one that you're least attached to. For most people, that will not be the first one in the morning. It's likely to be one that you're consuming in the afternoon. So think about working on that one first, and do it very, very slowly. So if you're having 6 cups of tea or coffee a day at the moment, give yourself a goal by next Monday to be having 5 a day. And then by the following week, to have got down to 4 a day. Because caffeine is really addictive. And if you go cold turkey and go from 6 to 0 overnight, you will feel dreadful. You'll have a detox reaction, which for some people could be having things like headaches. You'll definitely feel tired. You don't need to go through that. You can do it really, really slowly. and not feel the withdrawal effects. So one thing is to cut down, but very, very slowly. Another would be to replace that caffeine. So you could use decaffeinated tea or coffee, or you could replace them altogether with a different drink. So I would suggest replacing coffee or tea with green tea. There's less caffeine in green tea and it's got lots of antioxidant properties. Or you could just use straightforward decaf tea or coffee, or switch to herbal teas. So it might be a good idea to be having herbal teas after a certain point in the day anyway, so that you don't enable the caffeine to disrupt your sleep. And there's lots of different herbal teas to experiment with, and all of them have different health properties. So chamomile is calming, ginger is anti-inflammatory, mint is good for the digestive system. And then obviously you could replace them just with a glass of water, which would be a great thing to do if you're cutting down on caffeine anyway, because it'll help the body detoxify the caffeine. And then this goes hand in hand with balancing your blood sugars. But the more balanced your food is, the easier you'll find it to cut back on caffeine. So it kind of goes, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing. But if your blood sugars are balanced, you're going to find it easier to cut down on caffeine. And if you're drinking less caffeine, you'll find it easier to have better balanced blood sugar levels. So hopefully that makes sense. If you've got any questions, please ask them. And you will feel so much better with less caffeine in your system anyway. And it will also enable you to resist snacks because you won't be creating blood sugar lows through consuming caffeine. So let me know if you've got any questions, and I'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Thanks. Bye.